Browns rookie QB Shedeur Sanders out with injury. The biggest story of week, one of the NFL preseason, was the performance of Cleveland Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Sanders won't be stealing any headlines this week, as he's out with an oblique strain. This is just the latest in a long line of Browns quarterback injuries. Cleveland is preparing to square off with the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, and it isn't clear which quarterbacks will be healthy enough to play. Head coach Kevin Stefanski said fellow rookie Dillon Gabriel will get the start, assuming his hamstring is healed enough to go. This is in addition to the hamstring injury to veteran Kenny Pickett that could keep him out as well. It might be a heavy dose of veteran Tyler Huntley this weekend for the Browns. The Browns selected Sanders in the 5th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Stefanski hasn't named an official starter, but we expect the team to start off with veteran Joe Flacco, and the rest of the guys need to stay healthy enough for the coaches to sort out the depth chart. They called him rookie, but the way Shedeur Sanders moved around the facility, you could have sworn he belonged to every corner of it. The film room, the turf, the quiet hallway where players passed with practiced nods. Then, one afternoon, the rhythm cracked. A hit, a bandage, a hush, and the word spread through the building like weather. Out. The term landed on him softer than anyone imagined and heavier than the headlines dared to say. Out with an injury is clinical in print, but in real life it's an accumulation of small losses. A rep you won't take, a late-night throw you'll miss, the particular sting of watching a long-practiced motion pause mid-swing. For a rookie whose name had begun to skip across conversations, the pause felt like a new kind of audition, not for fans or cameras, but for patience. In the locker room, the light was different that day. Players moved with the smaller gestures of people who know a season can bend on a single play. Shedeur sat at his locker, helmet beside him, eyes flicking through plays on a tablet like someone tracing a map. He watched teammates run routes he'd run 100 times in practice, each pattern a reminder of what waiting meant. He didn't speak much. There's a hum in silence that says more than hurried reassurance ever could. Outside, reporters leaned on the edges of the narrative, searching for a crisp quote to puncture the fog. The team's official statement came with the practiced tone of stewardship, cautious, precise, protective. Inside, the real work was less theatrical. Trainers measuring range of motion, a doctor's confidential shake of the head, a coach rearranging reps so that the absence wouldn't become a fracture in the locker room rhythm. Shedeur's days shifted into a new kind of training. The plays didn't stop, they simply moved into different rooms. He'd sit with quarterbacks' coaches and watch film at twice the speed, cataloging defensive quirks the way an artist sketches faces from memory. He practiced footwork drills that had nothing to do with contact, refining the subtle rocking of hips and shoulders that make a throw feel inevitable. Mental reps replaced physical ones, reading coverages, rehearsing cadence, imagining the pocket until it felt like a space he could enter with his eyes closed. There was frustration, of course. There is always a little combustion in the chest of someone who wants the game to be immediate. He scrolled social feeds, where voices were loud and impatient. Pundits turned absence into argument and injury into prophecy. But the locker room taught its own grammar. Teammates didn't post hot takes. They sent pizza. They stayed late to run routes. They sat and talked technique like ministers of craft. Little things, a veteran's advice about pocket depth, a wide receiver's tweak to a breaking route, became the quiet architecture of recovery. The trainers became his new teammates. Their language was different, millimeters and tolerances instead of yards and touchdowns, but their intent matched the team's heartbeat. Long-term availability over short-term spectacle. They measured throws, tested rotations, nudged progress from tentative to confident. Every small win in that microclimate felt enormous. No lingering pain after a simulated series, a release that didn't spike discomfort, a head that no longer tightened at fake pressure. And there was another change, subtler and more inward. Patience began to feel less like resignation and more like strategy. He learned to value the invisible metrics. Quality of sleep, the exactness of warm-ups, the economy of movement. He practiced being present in parts of the game people rarely see. Meeting rooms where coaches unspooled playbooks, the quiet corridor where leaders speak of culture, the film room where one correction could reshape an entire season. When the team took the field without him, there was a different kind of ache. Not only his, but the team's. Coaches assessed substitutions in real time. Backups stepped forward with the nervous energy of actors taking a sudden lead. The offensive rhythm hiccuped in places it didn't before, and in others it found unexpected steadiness. Football, true to its nature, kept moving. That's both the cruelty and the consolation of it. The game goes on, and if you're ready when it returns, it will accept you back. Fans wrote, some with sympathy, some with impatience. But the more meaningful currencies were quieter. A trainer's nod after a successful throwing progression, a coach's curt good work in the hallway, and a teammate's steadying hand on a shoulder after practice. Those were the small victories that don't trend, but that last. When he finally took a few test throws on the field, the first real ones since the injury, the motion felt both familiar and new, as if muscle memory had been updated with a deliberate patience. The first clean spiral brought the kind of relief that makes you want to laugh or cry. The second felt like a promise. He didn't rush the comeback. He compiled it in pieces, each one an argument made to the season ahead. Being out had taught him a ledger of sorts. What it costs to rush, what it rewards to wait, and how pride can be a dangerous currency when the goal is a long career. It taught him the labor of being young in a game that prizes immediacy, and how to convert impatience into craft. When he eventually rejoined the full squad, the crowd might cheer for a return, the headlines might dance, but he carried with him a deeper prize, an understanding that readiness is built in quiet rooms as much as on bright Sundays. The injury did not become the story's end, it became a chapter. There were setbacks, yes, and nights of doubt. But there were also days of methodical improvement, and the kind of mentorship that only a locker room can offer. When Shedeur finally stepped back onto the sideline for real, helmet under his arm and playbook folded into his mind, he brought with him not just talent, but the discipline to steward it. Out with an injury, yes, but not out with purpose. If anything, the time away refined him, sharpened the angles of a young quarterback learning the long math of a pro life. The crowd might remember the pause, he would remember the work, and in football, the work is everything.